Imagine creating a bank so large it can hold an entire $100 billion economy hostage. Meet Ihor Kolomoiskyi.
Скажіть, будь ласка, що робить голова обласної адміністрації вночі?
Ну, с тобой хочет увидеться. Другой возможности нет, как тебя увидеть, твое лицо.
Head over to Kolomoiskyi's Wikipedia page and you'll see a lot of big picture words. Large-scale bank fraud. Once considered the leading oligarch in Ukraine, one of the country's most influential oligarchs, billionaire, businessman. Oh yeah, and also words like pre-trial arrest. Kolomoiskyi isn't like most billionaires. Okay, maybe that depends on your definition of what most billionaires are like. Kolomoiskyi once controlled much of Ukraine with an iron fist banking, media, even energy, and when the economy became unstable, billionaires like Kolomoiskyi were accused of leveraging their financial power to shape Ukraine in their mold. But let's get specific. How does a leading oligarch come to control an enormous swath of Ukrainian economy only to fall from grace? Let's ask Kolomoiskyi himself. Is it our fault that we created such a beautiful and large bank? Kolomoiskyi's beautiful bank was called Privatbank. All was going well. By 2016, the bank grew to become one of the world's top 500 banks. But once a shining beacon of Ukraine's financial sector, Privatbank soon found itself embroiled in controversy. The NBU, the National Bank of Ukraine and the seat of much of Ukraine's financial power, started scrutinizing Privatbank. A proposal to nationalize the bank brought extra scrutiny from people like NBU head Valeria Gontareva. Investigators found problems. That's an understatement. Investigators found lots of problems with Privatbank. Not only was the bank potentially on the brink of bankruptcy, but corruption appeared to be rampant. Gontareva became convinced that the owners of Privatbank had used billions of individual deposits to finance their business. Kolomoiskyi, for his part, denied this, accusing Gontareva of settling personal scores with him. His main crime, he said, was building a beautiful bank. Kolomoiskyi was defiant, saying, "It's not my problem, it's our problem." In one meeting, and he was right about this, Ukraine couldn't help but notice how this bank had become load-bearing to its economy. The problem? Privatbank wasn't so much as a bank as a collection of money. And yes, there's a difference. The whole history of the private group came down to the fact that it is not a business group. It has no structure, formally related persons, explained Serhiy Budkin, a partner of the investment banking company Finpoint. And while other banks had grown steadily, Privatbank's growth looked a little suspicious in retrospect. Kolomoiskyi had built a business empire by gobbling almost everything up. The private business group eventually comprised around 975 companies and operated across sectors from metallurgical plants and mine facilities to oil production and refining assets. Kremenchug Oil Refinery was among these assets and a major gasoline supplier in Ukraine. And though Kolomoiskyi relinquished control of Ukrnafta, the leading Ukrainian oil company, in 2015, he retained a substantial stake in the company, continuing a strange hold on the Ukrainian economy. We can't say there were no warning signs. Kolomoiskyi had quite the reputation. He once got in a shouting match with journalist Serhiy Andrushko about shifts in the company's leadership. But to trace how Kolomoiskyi truly grew to power, we have to step back. The rise and fall of Kolomoiskyi. Privatbank, founded in 1992, quickly became one of Ukraine's leading private commercial banks. Focusing on the corporate sector at first, it grew to 188 branches within 3 years, and the growth didn't stop there. In the great privatization of 1995, Privat managed to collect more than 1 million certificates, thanks to which the bank became a co-owner of several large enterprises. Nikopol Ferroalloy Plant, Dnipro Azot, Dnipro Metal Products Plant, as well as others. It grew larger and larger. By 2011, Kolomoiskyi and Bogolyubov held a major stake in the bank. Then the 2014 crisis hit. The world found out there had been significant capital deficits at the bank. Despite attempts at restructuring, the National Bank of Ukraine declared Privatbank insolvent in December 2016. This led to its nationalization, as well as legal battles with its former shareholders. The nationalization of Privatbank was a pivotal moment in Ukraine's financial sector. Privatbank has grown so large, the government could only nationalize it to prevent an economic meltdown. Despite legal challenges from Kolomoiskyi and Bogolyubov, the courts upheld the National Bank's decisions. Following the nationalization, a series of legal battles ensued between the Ukrainian government, the NBU, and Privatbank's former shareholders. Kolomoiskyi and Bogolyubov filed lawsuits disputing the legality of the nationalization. They even sought compensation for their losses.
Приватбанк сколько стоил? А кто ж знает? Ну вот видите, а у нас его забрали там за 1 гривну, как они говорят, хотя мы эту гривну тоже не видели.
The legal saga intensified with multiple courts weighing in. Despite the initial rulings upholding the national bank's actions, appeals and counterclaims persisted. The result? It prolonged the litigation process and added layers of complexity to the case. As these legal proceedings unfolded, they drew more attention. The public began to understand the broader issues of transparency and accountability to the law that were at stake. On September 2, 2023, the court sent Kolomoiskyi into custody for 60 days, including setting a $16.7 billion bail. The fallout. In September 2023, Kolomoiskyi was arrested by the Ukraine Security Services on charges of money laundering and fraud, with bail set at 14 million USD, a figure which later increased to 105 million USD. President Zelensky promised there would be no more decades-long business as usual. These days, Privatbank continues to serve millions of customers, holding 33% of the share of the retail deposit market. It's become a too-big-to-fail bank, because if it does fail, others across Ukraine may not survive. Fortunately, the Ukrainian government has recognized the problem and has kept Kolomoiskyi accountable. Thanks to the scrutiny on Privatbank, the government has helped keep the economy in a much safer place. Kolomoiskyi is no longer a billionaire, losing his billionaire net worth in late 2023. In October 2024, the court ruled to keep Kolomoiskyi in custody, despite his representatives requesting house arrest. The Kolomoiskyi trial is a positive step towards strengthening trust in the Ukrainian government and its financial institutions. Despite Kolomoiskyi's strange hold on the economy, it showed that even billionaires have to follow the rule of law.